There was a quiet street in Hong Kong. There was a quieter alley on that quiet street. At the end of the alley was something even more quiet. There was a coffee shop with a sign in the shape of a maple leaf. Inside the shop sat its owner, who had a peculiar taste in clothes, at least in the opinion of many. I still vividly remember the first time I had met him. He was wearing a pair of red high heels, a pair of skin-tight black leather pants, and a lavish, fluffy fur coat. He had always told us to call him Mama. He still identified as a man but preferred dressing as a woman. We all make our choices, and he understood more than most that being different need not lead to loneliness. Mama had saved my life. Not only had he saved me when I was being harassed by a pervert, he even let me work in his coffee shop. And he paid me 3,000 Hong Kong dollars a month. It wasn't much in Hong Kong, but I got to live in the coffee shop so that I could save up most of my salary and send it back to my brother back in Mexico. I hope it could help pay for school. Well, if your brother is also here, then who's getting the money? There were a few other misfits like me who Mama had taken under his wings. Hang, who could never tell ketchup apart from jalapeno sauce, that's a conundrum. Raja, who couldn't help singing whenever he picked up a goblet. Jack, who would always wipe the table twice. We all had different colored skin, and we didn't speak each other's languages, but we had all been learning from each other as well. We would often talk to each other in English, Cantonese, Mandarin, and Spanish all at once. Miraculously, we usually managed to understand each other pretty well. We always had a great time together. We shared the same bedroom with 2 bunk beds. Jack slept on my top bunk, and Hang and Raja slept in the other one. Jack was only 15. He had curly blonde hair and a pair of clear blue eyes. Carlos was a few years younger than him. When we had been in the orphanage, he and I slept in a bunk bed like this too. That was why I liked to stare at the top bunk before I fell asleep, and I imagined that it was a 15-year-old Carlos sleeping up there. However, the peaceful days did not last for too long. Only Jack and I were in the shop that day. He had just taken the trash out the back door. Moments later, I heard the muffled sound of fighting and yelling in the back. I ran out of the back door and saw a couple of tall, strong men pinning Jack to the ground, tying his hands and feet behind his back. Jack's lips were bleeding, and he seemed to be unconscious. There's a lot of stuff going on in Hong Kong, I gotta admit. I wanted to run back upstairs to find Raja. I knew he was sleeping in the bedroom. But before I could, someone had caught me from behind. Then my face was covered with a foul-smelling piece of wet cloth. When I woke up, I was already deep into the night. Jack and I were locked inside what seemed to be a small warehouse. Jack woke up at almost the same time as me. We both looked out the window, and we could see the blinking neon lights of a busy Melody Hall. If I remembered correctly, there was an auction house opposite Melody Hall. Mama used to tell us that the auction house on this street was not really legitimate. Legendary paintings that had gone missing, rare ore that had been illegally smuggled in, not smugged. The frozen sperm of dead movie stars. Ancient mummies of an undetermined age. Panda bears. The giant panda was an endangered mammal whose only natural habitat in the southwest of China. There are fewer than 2,000 giant pandas living in the wild nowadays. So-called panda diplomacy, 685 AD, Empress Consort, Dynasty, and 7 pandas. Hides. What are they hiding for? Oh, their skin. Oh, sorry. even exotic-looking young boys and girls. As long as there was a buyer, there was nothing they wouldn't sell. We couldn't stay here. I had been through this once. This time, I felt calm. I had to get myself out of here, and I would take Jack with me too. There was only one guard in the hallway. I slammed on the door to get him to come over. I told him that Jack had stopped breathing. He didn't think too much of it, perhaps because he thought there was just a couple of kids. So he opened the door and crouched down next to Jack, who was playing dead. When he reached out to feel Jack's breath, I pulled the gun out of his waistband and pushed it against the back of his head. Then we gagged his mouth, tied his hands and feet behind him, and locked him inside the room before we snuck downstairs. We didn't run into anybody on our way down to the reception desk. Just when I was about to celebrate our good fortune, someone yelled at us from behind. I turned around and saw a sleepy man who was holding a mark. He rubbed his eyes and slammed the mark onto the reception desk when he saw our faces. The alarm went off. I grabbed Jack's hand and we started running towards the port as fast as we could. 4, maybe 5 guys came after us from the auction house. There were lots of warehouses and small roads near the port that made up a complex maze. We had to play cat and mouse with our chasers before we could find a secure hiding place. At the southwest corner of the port there was a recycling center. The center had a fenced-in lot that had piles of garbage in it. Only a couple of overtime workers were operating the crane. They would lift a dumpster high up and then dump everything into the lot. There were many extra large dumpsters outside the lot. Jack and I had split up earlier and I waved at Jack from a distance to come over. The dumpster was empty. "Stop hiding, we saw you!" "I'm over here," I tried to draw attention to myself. They opened the cover of the dumpster. I walked out from the cargo container not too far behind them. I tried to distract them. However, they had already opened the dumpster cover and seen Jack hiding inside. They didn't tie us up to avoid attracting too much attention. Instead, they surrounded us and marched us towards the auction house. If we didn't follow their orders, the guns in their waistband would make us regret it. I fell into a deep despair. Jack must have been so frightened too. I looked at him, but for a moment I thought I must have been mistaken. I thought I'd just caught him smiling. We were close enough to see the auction house when one of the guards' phones rang. Everyone was temporarily distracted by the phone, including me, but a gunshot interrupted the ringing. A guard had already fallen down. A bullet had just gone through his head. Jack had just shot him with a smile on his face. He had somehow taken a gun from one of the guards. He then turned around and shot the second guard right in his chest. He didn't waste any of the bullets. It was almost like magic. Soon all 5 guards were lying on the ground. Jack looked at me with a casual expression on his face. "Alicia, let's get out of here." I was still in shock at what had just happened, and before I could say okay, I heard another gunshot from further away, and then a splashing sound nearby. Jack dropped to his knees and then slowly collapsed. Bright wet liquid was oozing out from a small hole in the middle of his forehead. The young man with the mark was standing behind us at a distance. Only this time he was carrying a gun instead of a mark. He started walking slowly towards us. I held my hand to my head and dropped to the ground sobbing. "Heavenly Father, why on earth would you let this happen to us? What have we done wrong?" "Alicia, well, let's see if we can fix this." And this is just, oh my god, there are 4 things. But this is just a single letter, so now we don't need to fix 2 stories. We just have a lot to do to fix 1 story. What if obviously they opened the cover of the dumpster and it was empty. What if we do this? What if we just change those 2? Cargo container tried to distract them. "There's no one inside! You fool! Go get the girl!" They tied me up again and went back to look for Jack for a long time. They couldn't find him anywhere though. In the end, they decided to just take me back first. On the way, I saw a shadow from the corner of my eye. I looked up. A huge dumpster had been lifted up and emptied onto the lot of the recycling center. Shit, we're about to recycle Jack. I also noticed a small boy roll out together with the garbage. None of the guards were aware of it. They never realized the person that they had been looking for was right under their noses. Jack had always reminded me of my brother. I would often change my shift to the same ones as him. Unlike Carlos, Jack never talked too much. However, I would still try to chat with him. After a while, we started to talk more and more with each other, although he rarely mentioned anything about himself. Once, I accidentally saw a horrifying burn scar on his back when he was changing. He must have a story that he didn't want to think about. Another time, I asked him what he would like to become when he was older. He pondered for a while and said, "A policeman, or maybe a doctor, I don't know." The look on his face was almost like he had been looking at an ocean of blossoming flowers. And he had been enchanted by the hypnotizing scent of the flowers. The warm summer breeze was kissing his exquisite blonde hair, and the glowing sunlight was shining inside his sky blue eyes. He almost looked like an angel to me at that moment. I knew he was not just saying that. He had a lot of books. When he wasn't working, he would always be reading in the bedroom. Even when he was on a shift, he would sit behind the bar and read when there were not too many customers. He spent all of his earnings on books. Although I didn't think one could be a policeman or a doctor through only self-learning, still I believed that Jack, my little angel, would be able to do it. Because I believed that if he did his best, his dreams would come true. Holy shenanigans, we hit an S rank on the first try! Well, how's that an S rank? I'm tied up and being brought to a warehouse about to be sold. Oh well, we did it. Uh-oh. The longest class. What did I do wrong?
Dios, ¿qué debería hacer?
Lord, what should I do? Pretty girl. So now we have 4 stories to deal with. Got the police story over here. I need a gun, 12:05. And then we got the new one from Lee Wen and Carlos. I think just to keep it together, since we already had some stuff about the police thingy in the last one, let's go with this one. It was 10 p.m. There weren't many people in the station. I ran down to the basement, pushed open the door to the armory and yelled, "Give me a gun!" "Excuse me, I need to check out the handgun, please." I had been assigned to this position for quite a few days, but I still haven't received a firearm. I have heard that the office was very bureaucratic and inefficient. I suppose people had been telling the truth. The custodian in charge of the armory slowly turned his face towards me. It looked like he hadn't shaved his wrinkled face for a long time. All of his facial hair was wet with tears and snot. I noticed the TV behind him. He was watching a very popular TV drama, The Descendants. I had to speak at the top of my lungs to tell him that I needed a gun, trying not to be drowned out by the hysterically bawling heroine on the TV. Although he was still quite invested in the show, the old man still hadn't forgotten his duty. He then explained the rules while holding back his tears. To check out up to and including 2 guns, please fill out the green B2 form and have it signed by the lieutenant of your unit. The firearms will be available immediately. To check out more than 2 guns, please fill out the pink C15 form and have it signed by the captain of the station. The weapons will be available in 5 hours. I don't have 5 hours! I took the form. I tore the pink C15 form into pieces. Sir, you got to be kidding me. 5 hours? Oh, that's you. It's really a matter of life and death here. I just need a tiny handgun. I slammed my fist onto the desk out of frustration. Please don't slam the desk, sir. The custodian pulled 2 napkins out of a box, then blew his nose and wiped his tears away. He turned around and refocused on the TV screen with the box of napkins still in his hand. The heroine had just been diagnosed with a terminal illness. It was the hero's turn to bawl hysterically. I squeezed the torn piece of paper in my palm and tossed them into the trash bin by the door as I stormed out of the armory. I let out a sigh. Fine. It should be okay if I just go ahead without a gun, right? I rushed out of the building, hailed a cab, and headed towards the port. Buddha would surely bless me. I'll try my best. It was 5 past midnight. Warehouse 23, Port of Busan. I realized that I had been backed into a corner. Because the people who had come in from the gate were not Lieutenant Kim Young-ho and his men from Unit 3. Lieutenant Kang, long time no see. It was my old rival, the leader of the Gangmon group of the Musun gang, Choi Johan. The drug cases around this area had always been handled by Unit 1 and my Unit 4. Drug smuggling was one of the main sources of income for the Musun gang, so Choi and I had handled plenty of deals with each other. Long time no see. I did see your son a week ago. He looked pretty good. Oh, by the way, I heard that you have been in a bad mood recently. Would you like me to get you some antidepressants? Ha, that won't be necessary, but you were right. I haven't been doing too well. That's why I bought myself some new toys to cheer myself up. I want you to share the fun with me, Lieutenant Kang. Jesus Christ! Everything went quiet for a brief moment. Suddenly a loud orchestra of metallic noise erupted in the warehouse. I could see that the containers were riddled with bullet holes. There was even rice pouring out of some of them. An M134. Show your hand. That was indeed impressive. I can't read with this. Thank you. He was my son. My lovely son. And you fucking blew off half his head. Today I'll blow off your entire body. Or blow your entire body into fucking smithereens. I crouched on the ground and covered my head with my hands. My Glock 43 had run out of ammo earlier. This couldn't get any worse. There was a toy gun on the ground. It went pew-pew when you shot it. Where did the toy gun come from? A toy gun against an M134? Ha! I couldn't help but chuckle at the ridiculous thought. But apparently someone else had come up with the same idea. The muscular man picked up the toy gun and came out from behind the containers. I didn't have a chance to stop him. Everything happened so fast. The toy gun couldn't possibly take on the M1... this gun. I saw numerous bullets fly into his body. The ground behind him was quickly covered in a bloody red mess. No! How did it end up like this? Kang back, yeah. So we switched the guns with him and then all is good. So... oh, I can only take one of these, right? No, I can't switch these over here. What if there was a toy gun on the ground here? Wait, what? Oh, this one needs to come in third. What? I can do this. But this one needs to be number 3, right? And this one, both of these needs to be number 1. Why can't I take this one then over here to make that number... oh. Huh. I think I did it wrong. I think I needed to... I don't know. The machine gun slowly stopped and I heard lots of people yelling outside. I peeked out to take a look. Some men from the Gangmun group were holding down a pretty buff young man, pressing his head to the ground. His head was already covered with blood. Choi Johan grabbed his hair and pulled him back violently. I finally saw his face. Yo, if I remember correctly, isn't this the new guy in your unit, Lieutenant Kang? What a cute and silly one he is. He came all the way here to save his precious lieutenant without even bringing a gun. Who do you think is cuter, him or my son? Lieutenant Kang? Fuck you. The kid's nose and mouth were bleeding heavily, and he kept mumbling through the blood. Lieutenant, don't mind me. He fired up the machine gun once again. The kid's fragile flesh was torn into pieces and pounded into a stain on the ground. I didn't fucking want to, mind you. What the fuck were you doing here? Didn't you know I meant to not fucking tell you about our mission at this goddamn place? And you idiot, you didn't even bring a fucking gun? There's a lot of fucking being spoken. How would you defend your precious justice? Justice. That was the fucking point now that you're dead. I looked at the toy gun as if it was mocking me. I tore the pink form into pieces in a rage. The goddamn rules. Were these stupid rules more important than human life? The custodian was staring at the TV and he paid no attention to me. I squeezed the torn piece of paper in my palm and tossed them onto the desk. Then I stormed out of the armory without looking back. I let out a sigh. Fine. Should be okay if I go without a gun. I rushed out the building, hailed the cab and towards the port. Buddha would surely bless me. I don't think so. Unless you wanted bad luck. Then I blessed you. Okay, retry. Is it because I need to put it down here? I can't! So I can't put anything over here. Can I put something down here? No. Okay, well then this is the only option left, right? Or... Oh... Let's try that. It's getting complicated. The M gun abruptly stopped firing. Then I heard the sound of metal hitting the ground. I peeked out to see that Choi Johan had dropped the machine gun and he was covering his abdomen with his right hand. Fuck! There were other people here, you morons. Find them. Soon I heard the sound of people fighting, yet Choi Johan held onto the machine gun again and pointed it right in my direction. He kept staring in our direction like a hawk. He was going to let us get out of here. He was not going to let us get out of here alive today. About 20 minutes later, some men from the gunman group were holding down a pretty buff young man. His head was already covered with blood, and this is where it all goes wrong. Shit. Well, guess I gotta play this one out. And there we go. Whoops. Have it signed by the lieutenant of your unit. I looked down at the green B2 form in my hands and I had an idea. I clutched the form in my hand and ran back to Unit 4. Stopping at the lieutenant's desk, I put my hand on the handle of the drawer. My heart was beating rapidly in his chest. Or in my chest, not in his chest. This would be a huge mistake, forging the signature. In all seriousness, this would be a crime. What the hell was wrong with me? Calm down and think, there must be another way. There was a toy gun on the ground. I picked up the toy gun. Could this be useful? Whatever. It would be better than nothing. I rushed out the building and hailed a cab. With only a toy gun on me, I headed towards the port. Shit. Well, that was better. But how can I fix with this thing over here when you won't let me... Do I put it down here? Nope. So what if we... But this is what I already tried, right? Right? Nope, I haven't tried this. Lieutenant of... well, this is the same. This is not gonna be better. How do I fix this when I can't move the stuff around? Speaking of which, I remembered seeing a toy gun on the custodian's desk earlier. Could that be useful? Something was definitely wrong with me. I let out a sigh. God damn it. So is it that I switch around the... Yeah, this is not good. Switching around those two, that doesn't seem to be helpful to anything. And I can't put anything over there. So this is bad. But what if we do that and then put that down there? That does something else. I felt blood rushing to my head and I picked up the gun. Then I turned back to the armory and slammed it on the desk. Thud! I dropped to the ground on my knees. Sir, I have to tell you something. Becoming a police officer has always been my dream, ever since I was a kid. Oh, we're talking to his sentimental side. Oh! I always thought that one day when I finally became a police officer, I would be able to defend justice and help people who were in need. Even though Lieutenant Kang has a lousy temper, loves smoking, and is often mean to me, always has me doing paperwork and likes junk food. But as a police officer, a defender of justice, I can't just let him be in danger without doing anything. And sir, if you don't loan me a gun now, it will all be too late. The custodian turned his face back again, looking at the top half of my head behind the desk. While tears were welling up in my eyes, it was nothing compared to the river coming down his face. Silence! I stood back up and dusted off my pants. Well, I tried. Wait! The custodian wiped his face clean and put on his jacket. I can't break the rules and loan you a gun, but I can be your gun. However, I'll come with you. Oh, by the way, bring this along too. The custodian stuffed a toy gun into my hand. A toy gun? Are you kidding me right now? However, the old man seemed dead serious, so I tucked the gun into my waistband. Still a rookie cop, all I had right now was a toy gun and the custodian of the checkout counter of the armory. I was beginning to feel uncertain about this rescue mission. With this thing, the gun goes off and stuff is happening. Oh, wait. I peeked out and saw that Choi Johan was lying on the ground, unconscious. His lackeys were completely frantic and running around hysterically. I didn't know what exactly had just happened, but it was my only opportunity. I charged into the crowd and took a gun from one of the mobsters. However, even with a weapon, I was still outnumbered. But just when I was about to be swamped, I saw a shadow running behind those bastards. At first, I thought it was just my imagination. But then the bastards suddenly began falling to the ground one after another, and a familiar yet annoying figure jumped out onto a huge cargo container. With his left hand beside his waist and his right hand waving some kind of strange white cloth, he shouted to the entire warehouse, "Listen up, you evil bastards! Today is the day that you're going to see justice being served by me! I'm going to arrest every single one of you and bring you all to the police station." I was 100% sure now I'm screwed. The only person who could say something like this without any irony was him, Batman. Who knew the kid had some talent despite always seeming a little off? Thanks to him, half an hour later, the only people still standing were all from our side. I tossed another empty gun on the ground. One of those bastards was lying near my feet, and I saw half of a pack of cheap cigarettes. I wasn't feeling picky at the moment, so I lit one for myself. It seemed to help with the exhaustion a little bit. What a night. I would need a beer when I got back before I went to sleep. I sat down on the bottom of a random body nearby. I felt like I never wanted to get back up again. And then I looked at Chang Yong-min. He had been jumping upside down for half an hour doing his weird karate, but he didn't seem tired at all. Young people, huh? Pfft. You're operating without authorization, you know that, right? Yes, sir, this is me defending my justice. Yes, sir, my ass, look at that grin of yours. And what was the deal with your voice? It was so loud that it hurt my skull. Well, whatever, I don't care. And there we go. You know what? We do have time to fix another one.
하나님, 나를 도와주세요. 부처님, 도대체 제가 뭘 어떻게 해야 되죠?
And we're gonna fix whatever is going on over here. The simulation exams were right around the corner. Everyone was busy preparing for it today. Mr. Wen hadn't mentioned anything about cancelling the class, however. Besides, I was still his assistant to the art class, so I went along. Oh, this is all the way back in the first episode. Sorry. However, the room was empty. There was no one there, not even Mr. Wen. I felt a little disappointed. Just when I was wondering whether I should go back and study for the exam. Sit down, time for class. Mr. Wen walked past me, took off his coat and laid it on the back of a chair near me. So, why are you the only one here, huh? It's the simulation exams tomorrow. Everyone is freaking out about them. I grabbed a chair and sat down. Mr. Wen seemed a little unhappy. Was he going to cancel the class today? I suppose that I should get ready to go back and study soon. What would you like to draw today then, huh? Mr. Wen abruptly asked. What I would like to draw? I don't know. It surprised me that I was hearing this question coming out of his mouth. Something more difficult? I said, hoping that it would make me appear more motivated. Then draw me. I'm pretty difficult. But you have to pose for a long time. That is too much for me to ask, you know? I honestly didn't want to do that. If I messed it up, when I messed it up, he was going to tear me, not the drawing, into pieces. Don't overthink it, just freaking draw. Mr. Wen took out his kit, set up an easel and continued. I'll do a sketch too, I'll draw you. After making sure that my ears weren't lying to me, I sprung up from my chair. Wait. Let me go and change first. I sprinted out of the classroom. I was still sweaty and smelly from playing tennis earlier, and I was wearing a sports jacket that was one size too large because I ordered the wrong one. It would be so embarrassing to be drawn like this. Furthermore, the more I thought about it, the more I felt like this was some sort of a trap. If I drew him badly, when, with his temper, he would almost certainly not let me off the hook easily. Well, I feel like I had turned into a dried fish on a cutting board, waiting to be cut up. I opened the locker and picked up the dress that Ying had bought when it was on a sale a while ago. I can't read today. She had bought 2 of them and given me one as a present. I'd never tried it on before. My school uniform was still drying off at home after laundry day yesterday, so this would have to do for now. I put the dress on. It fit well, size-wise, but maybe because it hadn't been washed, I felt a weird itching once I put it on. Mr. Wen showed no reaction to my new outfit, and so we began our sketching practice. Drawing a portrait was so hard, and my back kept being itchy. It kept distracting me. By the time the bell rang, I had barely drawn a rough draft. Mr. Wen put away his sketch, yet he didn't ask to see mine either. He was about to leave the classroom when he stopped at the door. He looked at me and opened his mouth. He looked like he was going to say something, but he didn't. Eventually, he left with a look of disappointment on his face. What the hell was wrong with him? What did I do this time? I brought Yi to the auction house. She was still burning up and barely conscious. I handed her to the boss there, a middle-aged fat man named Lucky Xiao, who had a full mouth of gold teeth. Usually when the gang mentioned taking care of someone without additional instructions, it meant to bring the girl to the auction house. Basically, I was only asked to do the legwork. As for the girl who had been taken care of, they had probably all been sold to people abroad. I'd heard rumors that besides the legitimate auctions, the house conducted illegal ones in secret too. There were many kinds of outlandish merchandise in this building, and that included humans. Just as I was about to leave, I couldn't control my curiosity anymore. I asked the guy at the front desk, "Hey man, where do these pretty girls get sold to?" The guy put down the stainless steel mug in his hand. The people brought here by the Black Dragon Gang? Well, those girls are usually just sent to Southeast Asia. Why there? Are they sent to be housemates? Are you stupid or something? Housemates? Your gang always told us that these girls are to be sent to become human sticks. Have you ever seen a freak show? Why can't I check this? Maybe oh, there we go. An extreme form of torture? Concubines by the wife? Oh, this is all kinds of fucked up. There's the criminal that kidnap women and children, turn them into human sticks. Extremely barbaric, yes. They have no tongues, eyes, arms, or legs. They have nothing but their torsos left, and they're locked in a cage. I almost threw up. This was the first time I have ever heard the phrase, human sticks, and I eventually figured out what it meant based on his descriptions. I would rather die than live like that. As a Catholic, I'd always been taught to do good deeds so that I could be absolved of my sins and go to heaven. After joining the gang, I had done many bad things, but I could never be involved in something so evil. No, I couldn't just let Yi suffer like this. Damn it! If only I hadn't brought her here, these people would never willingly let her go now. I had to get her out of here and then try to explain to Mr. Kwan. Hey, I just remembered Mr. Kwan wanted me to tell the girl something. What for? She's on the 4th floor, make it quick. The front desk guy picked up today's Ming Pao newspaper and did not look up again. Here's what the Ming Pao is a Chinese language newspaper in Hong Kong. Here's what this is, and apologies for mispronouncing. As I was climbing the stairs, I thought that I heard people crying. Were those the girls that were going to be sold? A strange thought suddenly hit me. Could it be possible that Alicia had also been sold here just like these unfortunate people? The thought had come out of nowhere, but I felt extremely unsettled. Yi had been locked in a room at the end of the 4th floor. The guard had stepped away for a moment. Her entire body had been burning up. I woke her up and helped her into my own clothes, shorts and shoes. I kept reminding her to be careful while she snuck out of the building. Poor girl. With a fever like this, she would probably die on the way to Southeast Asia if I didn't help her. I thought she was ready to go when she turned around and hugged me. Did I forget something? Oh, right. I pulled the brimmed hat on my head off and put it on her almost bald head, which had been shaved by Mr. Kwan. It was a real shame that he had done that to her. She looked really pretty with her long hair. Yi tried her best, got herself together and left the room. Well, now's the difficult part. The auction house was quite big. Not only would it take a while to exit the building, even if she got out, the guards could easily catch up to her while she was still nearby. I had to get her more time to escape. I scoured the room. I couldn't find anything I could wear. Nothing but a long wig. I had never seen a wig before. I found it a little amusing. But there weren't any clothes. I couldn't just be naked, could I? I picked up her dress. The dress ripped in the back. Oh, he's gonna need the tennis jacket. That's too large. I sat down with my back towards the door. I loosened the hair and let it down. I sat down with nothing but my boxer shorts on. Tried my best to keep calm. There was no other way. The dress ripped apart the moment I tried to put my legs in. Why did I even try? I knew I wouldn't fit. I should have kept it intact as a memento. What an idiot I was. I heard footsteps getting closer and closer to the door. I swallowed nervously. I saw the guard's shocked expression through the small window on the door. I heard him scream, then I heard the alarms. Yi had not been able to leave the building yet, and she was soon brought back. I was thrown out onto the street with nothing but my boxer shorts. Damn it. I couldn't just do nothing and let Yi be sent to a living hell. Lord, please guide me. Carlos. Well, Carlos, do I have some guidance for you? And it comes in the form of a slightly too large tennis jacket. Wait, where's the tennis jacket? Hello? I need the tennis jacket. What if we do this, this, and this? Wear a dress? I couldn't. It was too embarrassing. I decided to just face my fate head on like a real man. I sat down in nothing but my boxer shorts and faced the door straight on. Getting close to the door. When our eyes met through the small window of the door, he raised his thumb. The alarm went off in the auction house. All of the gates were closed immediately. Yi had not been able to leave the building yet, damn it. Okay, that didn't go well. Ying was way too careless when she bought this dress. The stitches were already coming apart, no wonder it was on sale. But maybe I could still let my hair down and cover them up so it wouldn't be so too obvious. Mr. Wen showed no reaction to my new outfit. That begins. Portrait. My hair was still wet after tennis and it was sticking to my back. It was really itchy and distracting. Whoops. So we need to get the hair and the dress over on his side. Let's try that. Let's try to give him the hair and the dress. Cool. So you put the dress on and loosen the hair and let it down. The dress was really tight. I looked down at the dress that was wrapped tightly around myself. I could still feel the warmth from Yi's body and smell faint trace of her scent. I had never worn girls' clothes except for my sister's. I felt my face starting to blush. I sat down facing the door and lowered my head. Oh, I should have had him turn around. Whoops. Piss. Yeah. Okay, we need to have him not face the door. Yeah, shush. I thought about it for a while and decided it was too embarrassing to change into a dress just for a sketch. I might as well stick with the oversized jacket. I thought we would give him that. Okay, well, I was still feeling a little warm from tennis earlier. Sweat kept dripping down my forehead. I had to wipe it off constantly using napkins. Fortunately, the sun was already setting, otherwise it would have been even warmer. When the class finally ended, I looked at my sketch and sighed. Unsurprisingly, Mr. Wen tore my sketch up again. I had lost count of how many times he had torn up my drawings. Besides, I was actually pretty bad at this, so I guess it's fair. I did wonder how I looked in his drawing. Before I could ask, he seemed to know what I was going to say and quickly left with his belongings. Oh well. Okay. Not too shabby, but there we go. This is the one. Okay, here we go. Was her hair this long? What the? So I don't let my hair down? God darn it. Okay, redo. So, what if you do, what if we, then this. This is gonna be it. The dress was really tight. I looked down at the dress that was wrapped tightly around myself. I could still feel the warm clothes from Yi's. Oh, she was bald and I let my hair down. Obviously, you idiot. And I'd never worn for my with the But then they started moving away. A few minutes later, I saw Yi leaving the building through the window. She walked out of the gate, turned to her right, and slowly walked out of my sight. If she kept walking in that direction for another couple of kilometers, she would be on the turf of the Blood Gang. I finally felt relaxed. May the Lord bless you, Yi. Now that ye had got away, I didn't need to worry about my own escape. When I was at the orphanage, I had always been the fastest kid. We used to go up on the hill to hunt rabbits. And here you go, this is what a rabbit is. They are slightly larger than Mexican hares. I guess I should have let my hair loose and not my hair. No. The other kids would take a whole day, but I only needed 3 hours. I ran out the room and sprinted towards the stairways. Sadly, I was in a tight dress, so I couldn't move my legs too much. The guard noticed me, but before he could make a sound, I had already jumped down an entire flight. Huh? I was able to go down to the first floor with just 3 jumps. Oh, we're bunny hopping. I ran past the front desk so fast that the newspaper was blown out the front desk guy's hands. By the time he realized what had just happened and who that had been, I was already long gone from the auction house. Still, how am I gonna explain this to Mr. Kwan? I wandered around the streets when I finally noticed people kept giving me strange looks. That was when I realized that I was still wearing Yee's dress. Oh my gosh, that was so embarrassing. I lowered my head and walked quickly towards the less crowded part of the street, afraid of being seen. I found myself in a strange alley that I had never been before. At the end of the alley, there was a small coffee shop. Oh! The sign looked like a maple leaf and it said Maple House on it. I was stunned. I seemed to remember that Alicia had mentioned a place like this in her first few letters. Are we finally gonna bring them together? Yes! She used to work here! Since Alicia had never mentioned the address of the coffee shop, I had never been able to find it. Yet here it was, right here! Finally, I was able to find my big sister, Alicia! I ran up the stairs of the coffee shop, filled with all of the excitement in the world, but someone suddenly grabbed both my arms from behind. It was a policeman. I thought about it for a while and decided it was too embarrassing to change into a dress just for a sketch. I might as well just stick with the oversized jacket. The golden sunlight from the setting sun shone down upon Mr. Wen and me. It felt warm, but not too warm. Mr. Wen's sketch papers rustled lightly in the breeze, as did his hair. He looked so focused that I had found myself staring at him without even realizing it. Mr. Wen looked up. Our eyes met silently. When I read finally and came in the same time. When I finally came to my senses and lowered my head, my heart had skipped a few beats. The bell rang. I reluctantly handed my sketch to him. If you want to tear it up, go ahead. I had lost count of how many times he had torn up my drawings. Besides, I was actually pretty bad at this. Mr. Wen handed me the sketch. It wasn't mine, though. It was his. Was that really me? I was speechless, and I couldn't find a word in my vocabulary to describe it other than beautiful. I never could have imagined that a person who was always so cold and distant would be able to create something so warm and intimate. Suddenly, an idea came to me. I held the sketch up in his face and pointed at a random spot. There's a serious problem here! Mr. Wen looked at the sketch, puzzled. Before he could take a good look, I took the sketch back. I will not tolerate this kind of thing in my class! I imitated his tone, took a few steps back, then tore up the sketch and threw the pieces into the trash. A sea lion had entered the classroom. What a historical moment. I finally turned the tables on him. I quickly ran out of the classroom. Thinking back on how many of my sketches he had shredded, I felt great about getting back at him. And with that, we come to the end of this episode. Well, we actually did fairly well. But in the next one, what do we have for the next one? Hang on. We already have the letters of unwanted and shaking hands. And then we'll likely also be dealing with so far yet so close and
Dios, ¿qué hice mal?
pills. But for now, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope to see you in the next one. All right, I'm out.